So I bought a wrecked motorcycle from Copart for the purpose of figuring out, is this a good idea? It certainly seems so when you're watching other YouTubers buying these fancy cars and rebuilding them and having all sorts of awesome fun on the cheap, right? But what does it actually cost? And how do you do it? Those questions and more today on Hoopty Doodle. So if you want more detail on how I customize this particular bike, there's a whole build series on it, and I'll link in the description of this video how to find those videos. Now if you're unfamiliar, Copart is a big auction company here in the States. It's all over the place, nationwide, and it specializes in vehicles of all kinds. You can buy anything from cars to recreational vehicles on there. I bought a motorcycle. It's exciting to bid on a motorcycle. Here we go. A 2016 Honda CB500F that, according to Copart, had damage all over. And it did. Pretty much anything that stuck out from the bike was damaged. This particular bike was being sold by Progressive Insurance Company, and I won the auction for $350. I was excited. I won. I won it! Oh, snap! I then paid another $238 in Copart fees to actually acquire the bike. Then another $200 to rent a trailer and pay for gas to get the bike home. The hills of Pennsylvania, you know, look at that motorcycle back there. Now when I bought the bike, Copart supplied me with a certificate of salvage, which is not a title, as at this point the bike was legally a pile of parts and not a vehicle that can be ridden on the road. So now I'm at home with a pile of dirty and broken motorcycle parts that I paid $788 for. So quick first glance at our bike here, it has a lot of damage. But it runs. But, if I turn it on. But I want a bike! So I spend the next several months, I put in about 300 hours of work and another $1,020 to rebuild the bike back into a fully functioning motorcycle. Alright, so bad luck, our triple trees are bent. I think it's probably strong enough, but we're still going to do a little bit more reinforcement on this thing. Alright, so after a lot of fussing, hours of fussing, alright, so we still need turn signals on the front here, so I'm thinking about putting them right about there. This is what I'm using, these guys right here, and on the back we got the same deal. To save costs, I fabricated some of the parts and bought used parts whenever possible. Time to weld this thing in, yeah. And of course I also wanted to lay down some funky beats, indulge my creative brain, and customize this thing. And now I've got this, a working, running, fully functioning motorcycle. But legally, it's still a pile of parts. So how do we remedy that? Here in the state of Texas, and it's gonna vary state by state, I take this thing to my local state vehicle inspection station. Which is literally the same place I take my car every year to have it inspected. And what do they do to this thing when I take it there? They check it for the same stuff. They check that the lights work on it, that the horn works, and then I'm good to go. And now the state has inspected this and determined it is a working motorcycle again. And they supply me with a form called a vehicle inspection report. And I take that, which is basically just a printout that you get every year with your car, and I take that form, which has a special little number on it, to, here in Texas, the tax assessor's office, which in most other states would be the equivalent of the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, and there, that's where they issue titles and registration for vehicles. And so I take it there along with another form, which is called a rebuilt vehicle statement. And on that form, I simply explain all the parts I've replaced on the bike: headlight, taillights, turn signals, foot pegs, etc. So I take this paperwork along with the standard title and registration application that you would do for any vehicle, and by the time I leave, I've spent $178 in total, $65 of which is an additional rebuilt vehicle fee. However, I now have a license plate and a registration sticker. Ooh, I'm a dangerous man. Meaning, I can ride this sucker on the road now. Huh, that was fun. So it's a big day. For Hoop-De-Doodle. And that, folks, is how you rebuild a wrecked motorcycle. All in, I spent $2,000. But is this a deal? Well, there are other factors to consider. Starting with Kelley Blue Book, a 2016 Honda CB500F would be valued at $4,300. That, however, is for a clean titled motorcycle, which we do not have. The general rule for a salvage or rebuilt titled vehicle is to deduct 30%. So in this case, that gets us to $3,000. But since the bike has been customized, if we were trying to resell this, it may be more or less appealing to potential buyers and maybe easier or more difficult to sell. And whether or not we could get $3,000 for it is questionable. I, however, am not planning to sell it. I am planning to ride the snot out of it. That's a rail. Also to consider with these salvage vehicles is insurance, because insurance companies view them as worthless. In their eyes, they've already been totaled out. An insurance company somewhere has already zeroed out the entire value of this vehicle and paid out the full premium for it. So there's nothing left to insure in terms of value. It is potentially possible, though, to find a non-major insurance company to insure this thing with some sort of custom insurance policy, probably similar to what you would do with some sort of vintage vehicle. So this is just something to consider when considering a salvage titled vehicle. Insuring them can be a problem. However, I am just fiscally irresponsible enough to believe that I will be able to get my money's worth of enjoyment out of this bike before it gets damaged. So stay tuned for future ride videos on this bike, and let's cross our fingers that they don't include crashes. Those questions and more today on Hoop-De-Doodle. Bevel these edges as well, and we'll tap it on here. Alright, so let's see. The bike, I've been riding around. I need to go get gas. It was flashing last time I rode it. But let's see. There, it's flashing now. Let's see what MPGs we're getting. Oh, 55.5 miles per gallon I'm getting. Okay. That's not as good as it thought it would be. Alright.